I the a-hole for having my husband fired? Can't believe I'm posting here, but here I go. I, 29 female, have an ex, 34 male, Richard. It's been 3 years since we separated due to him being abusive and cheating. But we are not divorced as divorce is expensive in my country. And whenever I apply for divorce, Richard insists on meditation. So divorce is never granted as one of us tries to save the marriage. He lives with his mistress and they have a kid together that was conceived when we were still together. Due to both of them harassing and mistreating me, I have a restraining order against both of them. My employer is aware of all of this, as the utility company my ex works for supplies the buildings their offices are at, one of the major suppliers in the country. Now to the actual event. Due to restrictions, everyone is currently working from home with a few days in the office. Richard decided to show up at my work with his kid and demanded to see me for child support money since we are still legally married. As my employer is aware of the situation, the reception refused to tell him if I'm in the office or not. I was, and asked Richard to leave. Richard did not, and security was called. As he was with his child, security couldn't use force to remove Richard, so reception threatened to call the utility company he works for. Richard didn't believe the reception can do it. So long story short, him and his mistress were fired with immediate effect as Richard showing up at my work has been seen as gross misconduct. And they discovered Richard was his mistress's boss. Apparently his employer didn't know they were together, and it's strictly forbidden to have a relationship with someone who is directly employed by you. The utility company apologized for Richard's actions and gave a considerable discount for their services to make sure the news of what happened wouldn't spread. Since they were fired, I'm getting calls from unknown numbers of various Richards / his mistress's family members and friends, saying I'm responsible for it and just a jealous a-hole for getting them fired to get Richard back. We still have some friends in common, and they believe getting him fired and losing the only source of income they have is too harsh, and I should have prevented that, / shouldn't have spoken in the beginning about what happened. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Just not to repeat myself in the comments. His family believes it's okay to have several partners and be responsible for kids even they are from an affair. And according to our mutual friends, he spreads a lie that I couldn't get pregnant. I don't want and never wanted kids. So his mistress helped us with that. But then I overreacted and called it cheating. So he had to stay with her to support the kid. It's the same as what he pulled in the courts when we were getting divorced alongside with his "I still love her and should have communicated better" lies. So the court wouldn't grant a divorce as they believe he is trying to save the marriage and I'm being unreasonable. Now for the top comments before the little update. Oh dear, this better be a joke. He asked you for child support for his adultery kid? WTF? Not stay home. Him and his family believes if the child was conceived in the marriage, the other party should accept them even if it's from adultery. They also had a go at me for separating with him due to cheating, because in their eyes, it's okay to be with several people. I'm so sorry. But why the holy name did you marry this creature? What species is it? I guess the reason was the same how everyone else got into a toxic relationship. He wasn't like that. Was loving and caring. I didn't know his family's views and other issues they have until after separating from him. Before that, they seemed fairly normal. A guy you have restraining order against showed up at your job, made a scene and got fired. You're obviously not stay hall here. This is absolutely the consequence of his own actions. It doesn't seem like Opie called anyone herself, and even if she did, I'd still vote not stay home. I feel awful for her. She must have been put through a lot in that relationship for thinking even for a second this is her fault. And unfortunately, it's not over for her yet. I hope she's able to completely get away from this guy. Not stay home. It doesn't even sound like you actually had a role in any of this. Like it all went down with you unaware even. I was informed he was in the office building by my manager as he had a meeting not too far from the reception. He knew about the situation, as he gave me a lot of time off to recover from the breakup a few years back and made sure I'm okay. He knows my reaction on Richard and that his presence generally makes me feel terrified. I assume Richard possibly heard some of the staff members saying I'm in the office as they were passing by, since it seems rather strange that he knew when to show up. Edit 2. Thank you for the support. I'm getting a bit overwhelmed trying to reply to everyone, but just want to point out a few things. His family's beliefs are not normal for the country, but I'm pretty sure they'd change if the situation would be the other way around. My boss is also incredibly frustrated with the situation, so he gave me contacts of his friend who happens to be a family lawyer, who agreed to help me out at a discounted rate as he owes my boss a few favors. He sees why courts take that long and will try his best to make sure divorce is granted. He also works as no win, no fee, and believes we can win the case and get Richard to cover the outstanding fees. And most importantly, no, I have not been paying child support to him and was not instructed to. The bit of claiming the child is mine as his mistress is his surrogate can be a bit complicated, but Mr. Lawyer, who I now owe a beer to, said courts can't make me pay or accept it since there is no evidence of any agreement. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for making a scene in public? My boyfriend and I were vacuuming the car in the gas station. He asked to see his phone, and when I handed it to him a few seconds later, he puts the vacuum literally on my face. Literally right next to my lips. Not even a full inch away from my lips. I freak out and try to smack his phone out of his hand and scream WTF. He tells me it's a joke, and how I'm overreacting and yelling in public. I won't lie, I've been feeling sick for the past couple days, so I've been semi-emotional. So I started crying because all I can think about is that nasty thing that never gets washed. It has been vacuuming up BS literally being on my face. My boyfriend has stated I've created an issue, and how he would never act like that. How it was a joke and how he will only be serious with me from now on. How he was just trying to make a funny TikTok. How he can't joke with me. I feel like an A now. Did I overreact? Am I the a-hole? Edit. I got my booster a couple days ago and have been having a rough time. Like laying on a cold tile floor to snap out of my dizzy/nausea and fever. I've been having bad headaches. It's made me semi-emotional because I've just been feeling like crap, and it's been super hard on me. Today was supposed to be getting fresh air and trying to feel better. Not that it's any excuse for me reacting the way I did. I just wanted to explain why I was semi-emotional already. Edit number 2. He wants to post it. And honestly, I don't have the energy to argue. So if you see it on TikTok, don't like it, please. Not stay home. You didn't laugh. It wasn't a joke. It was a joke is what a-holes say when they called out for their a-holery. Yeah, you always say something completely awful is a joke, but I'm never laughing. That's kind of a red flag that you guys are incompatible. It's okay. Some people enjoy stupid physical pranks and they are welcome to enjoy each other's company, but there's no reason you have to put up with it. Yep, if this is a pattern, it's time to say bye-bye. Perhaps do it on camera with a sick burn and put it on TikTok. See how he likes it. Not stay home, mainly because I hate TikTok. Also, sick or not, ew, that hose is disgusting. It was so dirty. Not stay home. It's only a joke if both people think it's funny. His response should have been, oops, sorry. I was trying to be funny and joking, but I can see it missed the mark. Really sorry. Instead, he doubled down and got defensive. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife that she should stop constantly expecting appreciation and just get on with her job of being a stay-at-home mom? I, 36 male, work full-time and my wife, 32 female, is a stay-at-home mom looking after our 2-year-old twins. When we got married, we both agreed that my wife would be a stay-at-home mom, especially since we don't have any family/grandparents nearby. We were both in agreement, and my wife made it clear she wanted to enjoy seeing our kids grow up, as we don't plan on having any more. I make a good wage, so we are comfortable. I don't give my wife any spending limits. Obviously, we discuss big purchases, so she is free to buy herself things. I make sure she has access to money and she takes care of everything around the house. I work from home and a typical day for me is 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Once I finish work, I go and spend time with the twins while my wife makes dinner. We put them to bed together and my wife usually clears up in the kitchen. She's great at her job, and the house is spotless. I'm happy with this arrangement, and I thought my wife was too. Recently, she has been coming to me and saying that she feels burned out, unappreciated, and taken for granted. I asked if I could do anything to help, and she said that it would be nice if I did something now and again to show that I appreciated her. Like buying her favorite bar of chocolate when I go to the shop or something small, just a gesture of appreciation. I'll admit that I didn't do this purely because I'm not in the habit, to be honest. We recently had a massive argument because my wife got completely fed up with being treated like a servant. She basically said that her working hours are 5 a.m. to 9 p.m., 7 days a week, and that she feels like I take her for granted. I told her that I understand it's a tough job, but we both get on with our respective roles. I never ask her to thank me for making money. I think it's cringeworthy. I get on with my job because I have to provide for my family, whereas she wants presents and treats for doing her job. I essentially said this to her, and now I'm wondering if I'm the a-hole. Looking after kids and house is tiring, and she does work hard and takes care of everything. But at the same time, do I need to thank her on bended knee and buy her things just for doing her job? Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. You're the a-hole. Jesus Christ. It's really too much to ask to occasionally buy your wife a bar of chocolate or say thank you. It sounds like she is working harder than you, but that isn't even the point. Appreciating her and showing her you love her is part of being a decent husband. If you're a robot who doesn't need appreciation, that doesn't mean she has to be too. You're the a-hole. I have 3-year-old twins and a new baby. I've been a mother every waking and sleeping minute of the day for just over 3 years, not including a 9-month pregnancy with 2 babies that equaled 9 months of illness, sickness, and a broken body. Your wife is working all the time. You get to clock off at 5 and you don't even have to travel to work. Your wife not only keeps 2 small humans alive, your wife not only keeps the house in, as you say, pretty excellent condition. Your wife not only cooks and keeps on top of food prep / buying, etc. Your wife not only drives everywhere to get things done, but she does this every day for 2 years without asking anything from you. Then the moment she does, the moment she opens up to you about how she feels, you dismiss her feelings and tell her you won't even help her feel a little appreciated? Well, news freaking flash. You get the feeling of appreciation, a job well done every time you make money, every time you please co-workers or clients, every day you keep your job. 2-year-olds crap and piss and eat and cry and laugh. No one stops to tell her or even gesture that your wife is a freaking superhero, like every stay-at-home parent. Buy her a chocolate bar and some flowers, then use them to knock sense into yourself. Edit to add. If you are a stay-at-home parent and you read this comment and say you don't agree because you feel appreciated by your children and infants, then that's great. Really, it is. But this woman doesn't, and she opened up to her husband about her feelings and he dismissed them. You're the a-hole. It's amazing. It's like your wife wants to be treated like a wife and partner instead of an incubator / nanny / housekeeper. Your wife is telling explicitly what she needs. She needs you to show her that she's appreciated. You are told, in a variety of ways at your job, that you are appreciated. I have no doubt. Your wife expecting that low bar to be met is reasonable. To note, nannies and housekeepers get told thank you and get bought special recognition rewards at times. Literally everyone gets thank yous. Opie gets shown and shows gratitude at work daily. He is treating his wife worse than he treats his most hated coworker. Everyone deserves recognition and appreciation. You're the a-hole. Correction, her hours are not 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. Her hours are 24/7. You don't get a break from being a mom, and you seem not to realize how exhausting it actually is. As a stay-at-home mom myself, let me tell you something. A lack of appreciation is equal to a lack of intimacy. I pack my significant other's lunch. I get a thank you. He sees me doing laundry or dishes, he says thank you. Is it every single time? No, but it's enough that I know, hey, he actually does appreciate what I do for him. And guess what? When I feel appreciated and cared for, it makes me want to do more for him. Why can't you run her a hot bubble bath? Why can't you get her a snack or flowers? Why can't you do the dishes or cook every once in a while? She keeps that house spotless, so when you come home you can relax and not lift a finger. When does she get a break? Does she ever get to sleep in? Does she get even an hour alone a day? Edit. Okay, you can all stop tearing me a new a-hole now. I get it. I do get to relax at the weekends, whereas my wife usually does her normal routine and gets on top of the cleaning, etc. Just for the record, I do thank her for everything she does. I say thank you all the time, but I understand that this may not be her love language. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my side of the story? My husband, 35, and I, 32, have been married for 2 years. Well, we are very happy. When our relationship first started about 4 years ago, it resulted with a friendship ending. We had a mutual friend, Mary. She knew my husband Carl before I did. She introduced us. I knew she had a crush on Carl, but he had no romantic interest in her. I also had a crush on him, and he did and does have a romantic interest in me. I asked Mary if she would have a problem with us going out, and she said no. She actually encouraged the relationship, at first. After our first date, Carl and I found out that Mary had been going around to everyone she knew saying that we went behind her back, and that I stole her boyfriend. Our close friends knew she was lying because they knew Carl and Mary had never been in a relationship. But people who didn't know me immediately believed Mary, and in turn repeated the untrue story to all the people they knew. Now, 4 years later, I still occasionally hear the untrue story. My husband and I don't go out of our way to tell the people the story, but if we hear someone talking about the lie, we will correct them. Recently, a really good friend of ours confronted us and said we should stop telling our side of the story. When I asked him why, he said, Mary's still really hurting over this. It makes her feel even worse when people find out she's lying. It would be kinder if people didn't know. Honestly, I don't care what the kinder thing would be. I don't want Mary to hurt more, but I don't think it's fair that we should be expected to hold our tongue when people spread lies about us. Am I the a-hole? What? Not the a-hole. I get that she's hurt, but that's no excuse to run around and spread lies. Your friend's request is absolutely ridiculous. I don't even get her being hurt by this point. It has been years, and she's still acting like she was wronged in some way. The friend needs to stop cuddling her and recommend professional help, instead of scolding Opie for telling the truth. Not stay home. Mary should stop lying if she doesn't want to get hurt for being called out for lying. Mary's ruining the couple's reputation. Defend it because it's annoying how it affects your relationship with friends. But honestly, I would cut out anyone who believes Mary and start with a new group of friends, because this is too juvenile for my liking. Not stay home. If she didn't want you to correct the lie, she shouldn't have told it, or considering people are still asking, be telling it. Personally, I would be considering terminating the friendship with Mary, given she is clearly trying to undermine you and paint you as the homewrecker. Oh, the friendship was over 4 years ago. As soon as I heard the lies she was telling, I ended it. Initially, I thought we may be able to reconcile, but when I heard what she was telling people, I knew it was over. Am I the a-hole for ruining my sister's honeymoon? Plus updates. Original post. Mom and Dad got divorced when my sisters Sam and I were 13 and 10. That was 12 years ago. My father was a cheater and still is, on to his 4th marriage. Mom met her boyfriend George a year after the divorce, but she kept it a secret and didn't introduce him to us until 2 years later, until she was sure that he was the one. That was the time I have seen my mother the happiest in a relationship. She's always been a happy and bubbly person. Sam hated George with all her might because she loves my father very much, and he was very heartbroken that Mom moved on. He even attempted on his own life. My sister never forgave my mom for it and threatened to cut contact if my mom didn't dump her boyfriend. My mom did. Afterwards, my mom was very depressed and down, but my sister and Dad were happy. Then my sister left for college a few months later. I know for a fact that my mom started seeing her boyfriend again a year ago. She's been happy again. My sister got married last weekend. Yesterday, we had a lunch before she and her husband were to leave for their honeymoon. When I arrived, she was a bit down. Apparently, she asked Mom to join us, but Mom declined. So she opened up saying that since Mom dumped her boyfriend, she has been very distant and cold with my sister. Never rude or mean or angry, just cold. If she asked her anything or needed something, Mom would be there for her, like when my sister had severe COVID. But other than that, she never contacted my sister on her own volition. My sister was telling me that maybe Mom never will be happy again because of her ending her relationship. I told her not to worry about it because they're still seeing each other behind our backs, and that Mom seemed very happy. my sister was shocked, and she started yelling in the middle of the restaurant and started trying to call Mom to ask her. Then she called me an a-hole for never telling her before now. I just never thought it was a secret that I was hiding, just a private matter, and I thought my sister knew too, because how couldn't she realize that Mom has been happy again and have been going for weekend getaways? My sister is now demanding that Mom break up with her boyfriend or she would go no contact, and I feel like the a-hole for everything, including miscalculating that my sister still has the same stand. Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Not the a-hole. Your sister is overreacting. Not everything is about her. You didn't ruin her honeymoon. I feel like it is my mistake to start this again. My mom told my sister that she is an adult now and free to go no contact. Now my sister thinks my mom and I are a-holes. You cannot govern your life worrying about how your sister is going to react. You spoke the fact. You had no intention of malice. Sis ought to be able to handle this information without making a scene. Info, what did her partner think? I don't know. I haven't spoken to any of them since, and he wasn't at the lunch. You're the a-hole for telling your sister that your mom is dating, instead of calling her out on her crappy hypocritical behavior deeply hurting your mom. It's okay for dad to go through 4 marriages, but mom has to stay single the rest of her life? Your sister doesn't love her mother much, does she? I'd be pretty distant and cold to the daughter who's okay with a cheating father, but not okay with mom moving on. Your mom should cut contact with your selfish sister. But nah, you aren't the a-hole for upsetting your sister. She should feel guilty for hurting your mom so deeply. Thank you for your comment. I agree with everything. This, not the a-hole. Your sister is a manipulative narc in her attempt to weaponize going no contact to force your mom to split with someone who makes her happy. Don't you dare let her try to ruin your mom's life. Lesson learned. Don't share anything about your mom to her again. Now for the first update. So my mom and George are getting married and none of us is invited. Just some of their closest friends and George's children and their parents. They're getting married in September and moving to another city. She sent my sister a letter telling her that this time she was the one who is asking for no contact. That she has done her job now and raised 2 well-adjusted and happy daughters, and she believes her duties have been fulfilled. Now we are adults, my mom wants space and peace now, and she will not be dragged into more drama. That she wishes my sister to stop being like her father, believing all people are her property and puppets. And after that, she can take the same amount of time to reflect. Then they could maybe reconsider their relationship. So if it takes you 5 years to be a decent human, then take another 5 years to make sure and reflect. Then maybe we can consider reconnecting. Until then, I wish you the best life, but I don't want to be a part of it. She didn't write any letter to me and told me that we could always keep in touch. We talk 5 to 7 times a week, and I am welcome to visit and stay with her and her husband anytime I wanted. Not sure how to feel. My sister is the one who hurt her, and yet she only decided to move on once she made sure my sister was happily married. But what about me? I think your mom has sacrificed enough for you and especially your sister. She deserves happiness. She's not going low contact with you. She shouldn't have to wait for you to get married for anything. It sounds like both you and your sister, but especially your sister, are so used to your mom sacrificing herself for the 2 of you that you just expect. How about instead of expecting that, you support your mom for a change? Call her, tell her you love her and support her and want her to be happy. Ask if you can be there to support her when she gets married. Tell her that you want to be there for her and with her on her special day. OP, do this. You sound redeemable. Not your sister who seems to be a retread of your father. You clearly need to think hard about your relationship with your mother, and it's clear that she doesn't trust you with her relationship with George. For good reason. Your mother seems like the person you need to try to invest in. If you work hard and keep your mouth shut, she may let you in. The last sentence is key. Keep your mouth shut. Do not pass on any info about your mom and wedding to sister if you get it. It will be a betrayal to your mom. Show your mom you can be trusted and you are on her side. Good on your mom for doing what was right for her and being firm in her boundaries. What a terrible toxic situation. An emotionally manipulative serial cheater of an ex-husband. Daughter that gave her an ultimatum to cut out a new partner that made her happy. The same daughter that after all this time still won't allow her mother to be happy with someone new while your father is on his 4th marriage. Unbelievable. Talk about double standards. Her reaction sounded pretty over the top as it was. I think it makes sense your mom cut her out now that she's married. And it sounds like she wants her relationship with you. Nothing's changed on that front. I don't know if I understand your last question. What did you mean by what about you? She isn't waiting for you to get married, nor does it sound like she plans on going no contact. My sister is now demanding that my mother leave her estate to us because it was my dad's money anyway, and trying to contact lawyers about that. I honestly don't blame my mom, and I don't want anything to do with her or my dad. My dad is raging too, saying how he loved mom and she never forgiven him. And honestly, he says that she is cheating on him even now, and acting all heartbroken. Your sister and father are delusional. Cheating on him? That's rich. It's her money regardless of what your sister thinks. I would join your mother in going no contact with them. If you talk to mom 5 to 7 times a week, can you not ask her why she's similarly excluding you? Did you copy any of your sister's behavior? You also need to apologize for using her personal life as gossip for the family, or as a tool to get your sister agitated. No, I did not, but I kept away from both sister and father and did have an opinion. I am already low contact with both my father and sister, almost no contact with my father since he cheated. Last update. We have talked and she honestly was scared to invite me and not my sister, because she didn't want to hurt my sister or make her feel she favored me. So I got very upset and told her that I have always paid for my sister's mistakes. She is the problem, that I am treated equally to her not to offend her, when I have always loved and supported her. I knew she was seeing her future husband and was happy for her. She started crying and she apologized. So now I am invited to her wedding. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my brother $200,000 from our parents' inheritance after he got scammed? I, 34 male, recently inherited $400,000 from our parents' estate after they passed away. There was a slight delay in my part in receiving the said amount because of some legal complications. My younger brother, 31 male, received the same amount, but just months after their death. And he was swindled out of nearly all his life savings by a shady investment scheme. Now he's asking me to share $200,000 of my inheritance with him to help him get back on his feet. He argues that our parents would have wanted us to have equal financial standing, and that losing his money wasn't his fault. Yeah, right. And that he'd pay me back all later. I feel terrible for him, but I don't think it's fair to give up half of my inheritance for a mistake he made, no matter how unfortunate. I've been working hard, budgeting, and planning to use this money for my family's future. If I give him half, it puts my own financial security at risk. My wife supports my decision, but some relatives think I'm being greedy and heartless, saying family comes first. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Not a-hole. Your parents did put you in equal financial standing. Exactly. The bro messed it up. He's gotta sleep in the bed he made. Bro doesn't get extra bonus points for stupidity in life. It's best he learns that now. Stupidity can't be fixed. It's forever. He'd probably do the same thing all over again. Every action has consequences. He's reaping the consequences of his actions. Sucks to be him, not the a-hole. If he had taken his $400 and immediately doubled it in his investment scheme, would he have given you $200 so that you would both have even financial standing like your parents would have wanted? Your parents did provide you with equal financial standards. What they apparently fell short on isn't providing you with equal intellectual standing. Your brother is an idiot first for blowing $400,000, and second, thinking it should be your problem. Probably also third for thinking that he's going to take the $200,000 and somehow be able to turn it back into $400,000 so he can pay you back. Not the a-hole. Tell the relatives who called you greedy and heartless that you let your brother know that they'll be giving him money to get back on his feet. Not the a-hole. His bad decisions, his problem. I just did that. Thank you so much for the idea. Now for the first update. Wow, this blew up. I didn't think I need online strangers to knock sense into me. Also, it's funny how quickly someone can go from calling every hour to a direct block. I called my brother and asked him what exactly happened, and told him I'd only give him the money if he told me the truth, and only the truth. He told me he invested in a company called Aramco, obviously not the real one, to a sheik, and paid his deposit of $10,000 the first time, where he got back $20,000. Then he began scaling up and always got doubled until $100K. He got back $110K, then was emboldened and invested $300K and was guaranteed $600K, and the rest is history. He made a police report but had no evidence to share, as he withdrew in cash and dealt in cash itself, taking only token receipts which were fake. He kept the previously gotten amount in cash in his house. I only came to know how stupid someone can get. I told him his lack of basic common sense and greed does not constitute grounds for charity on my part, and told him to take better care of the remaining $100K. He cussed me out and told me I disappointed my parents. As for my relatives, I told them all in a group chat that I'd only match whatever they would pay to my brother, and even offered to double it, since I was so greedy and wanted to prove them wrong. Thanks to a legendary commenter who suggested that. I love you. I was cussed out there too. Lol. They're all blocked now. They told me the money got into my head. Sorry for not replying to the comments. I was really weakening in my resolve not to pay him, and you guys just napped me back. Thank you. You all saved me. Not the a-hole. I was already on the side of not the a-hole before the edit. But geez, he's just trying to scam you. He wants $200K when he already has $100K plus left in the bank? If you sent the money, you would have $200K and you would have $300K plus. How is that equal financial standing? What an a-hole. I was very close to helping him out and being an a-hole to myself. Thanks to the sub. Second update. He called again. So after blocking my brother and pesky relatives and thinking the drama was over, he found another way to get to me. He called through my wife. Turns out, things are even worse than he originally told me. That $100,000 he had left is all going toward paying off loans and a car he financed, so he's basically left with nothing. He finally admitted how desperate he is, apologized for not being fully honest earlier and being a douche and cussing me out. He said he realizes he messed up big time. Greed got the better of him, and I was asking for $50,000 instead of the $200,000, promising to pay me back eventually. He even said he'd appreciate whatever help I could offer if I couldn't give the full amount. Yes, I asked him about the previous increments he received. Turns out he actually invested $350,000. The desperation in his voice was palpable. But honestly, I'm done with him. He wasn't always this reckless or stupid. Maybe I was wrong, but the guy I'm dealing with now is a complete mess. Thanks to you all who made me see that. His greed and lack of financial knowledge are his own doing, and I'm not about to bail him out. Lastly, thank you to all of you who took time to help me realize the massive blunder I was about to commit. You guys saved my finances, and quite possibly my life. I'm grateful to all of you. Last story. Am I the a-hole for asking someone to stop coming to my house uninvited? My wife gave her brother a key to our house. I routinely go to my house on my lunch break, and many times have found my brother-in-law at my house uninvited. No one else is home, but he comes to my house and eats my food for lunch. A couple weeks ago, I had a 14-hour day at work, a Thursday, and I had to be in the field for a construction project. On Friday, I was struggling at the office and decided to call it today, so I could go home and rest. When I arrived at home, there was my brother-in-law. I was exhausted and really not in the mood for a guest. Later that day, I texted and told him that I wasn't comfortable with his unannounced visits and asked him not to do it anymore. I told him he was welcome at my house, but I wanted to know when he would be there and that I need boundaries. He seemed cordial with his text response, but I have caused a civil war. My wife is mad at me and so is her other sibling and parents. They said that I'm weird and don't understand how siblings work. In my opinion, it is weird and rude to act like one has carte blanche to someone else's house and food. Am I the a-hole? Is your wife's family from another culture or possibly planet? They sound very different. I would go crazy if I found a family member of mine in my house without being invited, especially if they were eating my food. That key needs to be revoked or change the locks if wifey refuses. Not the a-hole. Yes, she is Mexican-American. Her brother is the only boy and as such, has entitlements within the family. Maybe his family, but definitely should not be yours. Her normal meter is broken. That is not normal. Yes, I agree. I have felt like I am crazy from all the pushback from my wife and her family. Nope, she is wrong. That is not normal at all. He can go hang at his mom's house and eat her food. It's time to pull out the machismo card and tell your wife that you married her and not her brother. But that can change if she refuses to support your boundaries. If someone was coming into my house when I wasn't home, they would 100% lose their key privileges. Absolutely no way would I tolerate that. The first time I came home and found it let himself in without asking, I'd have gone ballistic and taken the key off him. Agree, a key isn't an open invitation to use the house as your own. It's a sign they trust you if you were to ever need it. Yes, my family all have our house's key the same. My dad is a locksmith and set it up the way so that any of us could help each other in an emergency. But none of us, parents or siblings, even adult nieces and nephews now, have ever violated that by going into another's home without asking or being asked to. Correct. If you are entering my home uninvited and unannounced, eating my food and laying around like you live there, then you are paying me rent, utilities, and grocery money. My wife can move back home or in with her sibling if they cannot understand. Update 2. Am I the a-hole for going behind my wife's back and telling her pregnant sister that she's being cheated on? Link to the first part of this saga in the description. Now for the second update. Many people ask me for an update, and I also need some outsider perspectives in my situation, so here it goes. Before I start, I want to clarify something for the people who kept calling me names for telling my sister-in-law the truth. Why do you think I should have minded my own business? She's family, and if family doesn't look out for each other, then who else will? Strangers? This isn't just some harmless or small lie for my brother-in-law. It's life-changing. My sister-in-law isn't just my sister-in-law. She's my friend. If I hadn't told her the truth, my POS brother-in-law would have just kept cheating, and I would have lost a friend if I had delayed any longer. Now for the update. My sister-in-law only stayed at my place for 2 days. After that, she called me and said she didn't want to trouble me anymore and was going to stay at a hotel. I tried to convince her not to waste her money unnecessarily, but she didn't listen and left anyway. And yes, I am divorcing my wife. After a week of no contact, she called me and said she wanted to reconcile. She told me she was angry that I didn't listen to her and went behind her back. She said she didn't want to break her sister's family and had planned to convince my brother-in-law to stop cheating. But she claimed I had messed everything up. She said she was coming back. I told her to come over because I wanted to talk to her in person. This isn't the kind of thing you discuss over the phone. When my wife arrived and started explaining herself, I told her I was filing for divorce. She was shocked and said we could make it work. I told her we couldn't. I said, I don't trust you after everything you said, and you left me with no contact. I was worried all day about where you were, if you were safe, etc., and now you suddenly show up? I can't make it work. She tried to convince me not to go through with a divorce, but I had already made up my mind. I told her that her sister had stayed at our place for 2 days, and she got angry, saying, fine, let's divorce, and left. I told my sister-in-law that I'm getting a divorce. She wasn't happy about it, but she didn't try to convince me one way or the other. I also told her she could stay with me instead of wasting money on a hotel. She said it was inappropriate, but I told her, either you waste your money and struggle or you can accept my help. So, my sister-in-law and I have been living together for the past couple of days. We've discussed our spouses and their behavior, and we're both pretty angry about everything. My sister-in-law is even angrier than I am. She ended up calling my wife, calling her names, and told me she's hell-bent on ruining my brother-in-law. She is divorcing him and plans to go nuclear. She wants as much money as possible in alimony and child support. She wants to drain him. My wife and I haven't spoken since she left, and we both know the divorce is happening. My sister-in-law, though still angry, has started to calm down because it's unhealthy for her and the baby. She's now focusing on her career and reading stories about single moms. She's preparing herself. So that's all for now. And to the weirdos out there, stay away. Neither my sister-in-law nor I have any romantic feelings for each other. I'm just helping her because she needed support, which is why she hesitated so much in accepting my help. Call me a moral police if you want, but I know I did the right thing, not just for my sister-in-law but for myself as well. Now I know exactly what kind of woman my wife is. Did your wife ever tell you where she went? I find it interesting that she has a place where she can just go for an extended period of time and nobody knows where she went to. She went to the guy who she was having an affair with. He did not want anything serious, hence why she came back. Smart to divorce this woman. I don't know, and I don't care. I had mixed feelings. I love my wife and tried to stop her from leaving. Tried to convince her, but she left anyway. Well, I was worried all day every day about my wife, wondering where she was, if she was safe, if she had eaten. She never contacted me after she left, and her family didn't know where she was either. But no matter how much I love her, it's better if I just divorce her. I've lost all trust in her, not just because she wanted to hide my brother-in-law's cheating, but also because she said she would expect me to forgive her if she cheated and that she would forgive me if I cheated. I don't want that. None of this. Besides, if a pregnant woman can put her emotions aside, think for herself and take steps to move forward, then I should do the same. I need to cut out the toxicity and restart my life instead of constantly worrying. In a way, she kind of inspired me. I'm so sorry you're having to go through this. Not the a-hole, but please get support from whoever you can and continue providing support to your sister-in-law. Wishing you the best going forward. Thanks. I got my parents' support, but they won't pick sides. After all, we both are their children and we are fighting, which is understandable. My mom calls me every day at least thrice to check up on me. Me and my sister-in-law support each other and talk a lot. I am in pain, but her pain is unimaginable. She's pregnant and found out her baby's father is a cheat. Also low on money and ashamed to seek help. Yes, she's no longer my sister-in-law, but my friend. I'll try my best to support her. Though she's so much in pain, she's thinking about herself and her child. Women are truly strong, especially when they are pregnant indeed. Next story. Am I the a-hole for considering ending my not terrible marriage because being a step-family just isn't working? My husband, 40 male, was a widower when we met. I, 36 female, was a single woman who had never been married before. My husband has a daughter, April, 13, from his first wife. April was 5 when her mom died, 7 when my husband and I met, 8 when she and I met, and 11 when we got married. Things with April were okay before I got pregnant. And by okay, I mean we weren't very close. She didn't call me mom or say she loved me, but we got along well, and she said she had no issues with us getting married. She was even in the wedding as her dad's best person. All was good. Then I got pregnant with our son, who is now 4 months old, and everything changed. She was furious when she found out we were expecting. She told us she would not be okay with it, and asked her dad how he could do that to her and her mom. From that moment on, she became hostile toward me. Very angry, and lashed out at me, my husband, and anyone who tried to say she was going to be a big sister or referred to our son as her little brother. We got her into therapy and even did family therapy. April refused to speak. We tried to find a therapist who would click with her, but she still wouldn't talk. Eventually, we found a therapist who got her to speak one time, but she only said she didn't want to work with us or make things better. She refused to say why or answer any questions the therapist asked. She didn't address it with her individual therapist either. They worked on other issues instead, but that hasn't been enough to help her come around. People said that once our son was born, once she saw him, she'd fall in love with him and go back to how she was before. That hasn't happened. She's aggressively against anything to do with him. She has never held him, and we don't have any family photos of the 4 of us together. It breaks my husband's heart. He has talked to her and disciplined her, but it hasn't made a difference. She screams that he's not her brother, and even refuses to call him her half-brother, saying he's not my sibling at all. I can't speak to her at all now. The nice relationship we had is gone, and that makes me sad too. The situation isn't working, and our home no longer feels like a home. It feels like a house on the verge of collapse. I'm not sure I want to stay married and continue trying to figure this out for another 5 years. I don't see any hope for it to get better, and even though my son will still have to be around, maybe having 50% of the time in a loving home would be better. I'd be happier, even though I love my husband. When I confided in a friend, she told me I can't give up this quickly and that I'm not giving it enough time to get better. Am I the a-hole? People said that once our son was born, once she looked at him, she'd fall in love and go back to how she'd been before. I just have to ask, who the hell were these delusional people? Look at him and fall in love. Really? That's something you say to a nervous, soon-to-be parent. These people couldn't have had any real experience with this kind of situation. It rarely happens that older siblings, especially those who are vehemently opposed to the baby and want nothing to do with them, suddenly flip a switch just because they see the new kid. They don't look at the baby and think, "Aw, how cute, I love them so much." They look at the baby and think, "This is the drooling, puking crap monster that's turning my world upside down." Not just that, but she won't be the only little queen bee anymore. My older sister threw me out of the window as a baby and tried to harm me all throughout my childhood. Be careful. No judgment, but I'd be concerned about your son being with her during your husband's custody time with him if you divorce. Just something to consider since she is part of the household. And honestly, it sounds as if you would be giving her what she wants, which I don't know if that's a good thing. Next story. Am I the a-hole for asking my husband to prioritize our family tradition over his new friendship? My husband, 35 male, and I, 32 female, have a small but meaningful tradition we started during the first year of our marriage. It's nothing major, but it's important to me. Every November, on the weekend before Thanksgiving, we take a day trip to a lakeside town about an hour away. We spend the day walking, talking, and picking out a new ornament for our Christmas tree, something meaningful to our year. It's just one day, but it's one of those things that makes the holiday season special for us. Recently, my husband became great friends with a guy from his gym. They hit it off quickly, and I think it's great because my husband doesn't make new friends easily. His friend seems like a genuinely nice person and shares a lot of my husband's interests, like hiking and gaming. I know it's refreshing for my husband to have someone he clicks with so well. Here's the issue. My husband's friend invited him on a weekend trip during the exact same weekend as our tradition. My husband seemed hesitant to bring it up at first, but eventually he asked if I'd be okay with rescheduling our tradition to another weekend so he could go with his friend. I was caught off guard and told him it kind of hurt my feelings that he'd even consider moving it. He told me it wasn't a big deal for us to just go another weekend, and it's right in the sense that it wouldn't really affect anything logistically. But this trip has always felt like our thing. It's not that I don't want him to have fun or make new friends, but I feel like he's minimizing something that's special to us, or at least special to me. When I told him that, he looked surprised and then frustrated, saying I was overreacting. He eventually agreed to keep the weekend for our tradition, but I could tell he was disappointed, and I feel guilty about that. Part of me wonders if I'm being stubborn about a little ritual that maybe only I care about as much as I do. So, am I the a-hole for asking him to prioritize our tradition over his new friend? Edit. I saw some people asking how long we've been married. We've been married for 6 years, and we've been doing this tradition since our first year together. Always on the same weekend. A lot of people have asked why this specific weekend matters so much to me. I think it's because we've kept this tradition on the same weekend for over 6 years, and for me, the timing feels like an integral part of the tradition itself. It's become a marker for the start of the holiday season in my mind, and changing it feels like it would lose some of the meaning behind it. Info. While I think it's super nice your husband made a friend, he's currently blinded by the honeymoon phase of friendship. Does he actually enjoy the trip, or is he doing it because he wants to do it? He's kept the weekend open every year without me having to remind him, and we always have a great time. That said, he hasn't explicitly said how important it is to him or how much he enjoys it. I've expressed to him how much it means to me though, so I'm guessing it may feel more significant to me than it does to him. That's part of why I'm second-guessing myself. Maybe I've been assuming we were on the same page about it being our thing without ever checking in with him about how he feels. I don't see how changing the weekend you go will change the tradition though. To some people, changing weekends is fine. Others need to celebrate on certain days. My wife's father's side does Thanksgiving a week early every year so everyone can make time for their other family on Thanksgiving. I know others that get upset if you try to celebrate their birthday on the closest weekend rather than the actual date. Update after a few hours. I want to thank everyone who shared their opinions. After reading the comments and giving myself some time to reflect, I decided to talk to my husband again. I told him I felt bad about how things went earlier and that I didn't mean to make him feel like I'm keeping him on a leash. I also explained why our little tradition feels so special to me and how I've always seen that weekend as our weekend. He admitted that he hadn't realized how much it meant to me. He said he'd been excited about the trip with his friend because it was the first time in a long while that someone had reached out to him like that, and he didn't want to let that slip away. We both agreed that we could have handled the conversation better, and that neither of us wanted the other to feel like their feelings didn't matter. As mentioned earlier, we've decided to stick to our tradition this year as planned, and my husband is going to plan a weekend trip with his friend in January after the holidays are over. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not allowing my sister to have her birthday party in my house? My husband, 26 male, and I, 24 female, recently bought our first home, and we've worked incredibly hard to get here. We don't come from money, and everything we have, we've earned ourselves. We are very close to my side of the family and see them nearly every day. I've always kind of been the black sheep of the family because I'm the only one who has set boundaries. Anyway, a week after my husband and I moved in, my sister, 26 female, sent me an invitation to her birthday party, which she planned to hold at our new house. I want to note that she had briefly asked me about hosting the party here a few days earlier, and I told her I wasn't sure because we still had a lot of unpacking to do. Clearly, that wasn't a concern for her, as she went ahead and sent out the invitation days later, inviting extended family who live several hours away and would need to stay a night or two. Since we're still settling in, we don't have extra beds or much furniture yet. And my husband and I didn't feel ready to host what felt like a large gathering so soon, especially since we haven't even planned a housewarming party yet. Both of us work full-time and have limited time to unpack, so things are moving slowly. I told my sister that we'd be open to having a smaller, more intimate celebration, just immediate family and maybe one or two close friends. I also explained that this move has been a huge transition for me, and I'm still getting used to the new city and lifestyle. While I wanted to celebrate her, I didn't feel ready for a big party. After that, she stopped responding to me. The next day, I went to my parents' house during my lunch break and my dad came outside to tell me that they didn't want to see me. He said I was being selfish for turning down my sister's request and that I had hurt the whole family. Now my family refuses to speak to me until I apologize. And they've called me ungrateful and a narcissist. I don't know if I was in the wrong, if I made a big deal out of it, or if I unintentionally hurt my family. So, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. No wonder you've had to set boundaries with your family. It's utterly ridiculous that they feel like she's entitled to your space like this. You'd best contact those extended family members before they make travel arrangements, because it doesn't sound like she's going to. Or at best, she'll tell them it's cancelled and it's all your fault, so you look terrible. The entire family seems like they're a-holes, to be honest. Who in their right mind demands someone's house for their own private celebration, then badmouths to everyone? What a nightmare. Not the a-hole. You never said yes. You said that you would have to think about it. Your sister is the one who jumped the gun and started planning and inviting people. I don't understand your dad's comments about you hurting the whole family. That makes no sense. Definitely don't apologize. You've done nothing wrong. Would not be surprised at all if the parents were the origin of, "Our place is too small for that. Why not at your sister's new place? You can have your big party over there." Update. Am I the a-hole for snapping at my wife and calling her crazy because she wants me to take a paternity test for my nephew? Original post. My wife and I have been married for 10 years and have been together for 14. We don't have kids. I have a 13-year-old nephew who looks a lot like me. We share some similar facial features. I'm really proud of him, and we've always had a close bond. I've played a father-like role in his life since he was young, especially since his own father is absent, and my sister divorced him a long time ago. Some family members have commented on how much my nephew resembles me, and at first, I thought it was just a nice observation. But for some reason, these comments started making my wife insecure and doubtful. She was questioning why I needed to play such a prominent role in my nephew's life, why my nephew had autism, etc. Her insinuations became uncomfortable and strange. I admit that my sister's dry humor might have contributed to my wife's insecurities. During family gatherings, my sister would joke about how nice it is that her son looks like me, saying she couldn't be happier. It was clearly meant as a joke, but I asked my sister to tone it down because it's affecting my wife. Last night, things escalated when my wife asked if I would take a paternity test to put her mind at ease. That's when I snapped and called her crazy, saying that marrying her was the biggest mistake of my life. I regretted saying it immediately because it wasn't true. My wife is the love of my life. She went quiet and started crying, and I had to console her afterward. Was I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. She thinks you had a baby with your own sister? Not your brother's wife or anything, but your own sister. No, that is crazy. My oldest niece is a miniature version of me. Looks and attitude, lol. I have never once been accused of incest with my brother. OP, your wife is on some other level of insecure. You are not the a-hole at all. She needs therapy. It's genetics, and sometimes a niece or nephew can look just like that aunt or uncle. Like it's crazy to insinuate incest because he looks like his uncle. Does she not understand they are siblings and have similar genetics? Two full-blood siblings share about 50% of their DNA. That means the odds of OP sharing significant features with his nephew are 1 in 4, which not rare. Sorry, but someone accuses me of sleeping with my sibling, I'm gonna say some kind of something to them. It won't be pretty. She doesn't get to cry and acts like she did nothing wrong. Not the a-hole. And love of your life or not, your wife thinks you slept with your sister. How do you come back from that? An accusation of ordinary cheating is bad enough for a marriage and can definitely justify some not-so-nice words. Throw incest into the mix and yeah, OP's wife is definitely the wrong here. She needs to pull her head out of her behind and apologize. Then probably seek therapy. Now for the update. Hey everyone, just a quick update. I've agreed to take the paternity test, but there are some conditions attached. I realize my wife is being paranoid and irrational, but I'm willing to take the test to help ease her fears. Sometimes, fears don't follow any logic. I've had my own irrational worries before. I talked to my sister today, and she was understandably upset with my wife. But after discussing it at length, my sister agreed to the test, provided we set some conditions. Later, I spoke to my wife and told her I was willing to take the test, but there were a few terms. My wife was relieved that I agreed and explained the conditions to her. The first was that she needed to stop making any insinuations or accusations immediately. She agreed right away. The second condition was that there would be no more arguments about me spending time with my sister and nephew. Over the years, we've had disagreements about why I spent so much time at their house. My wife agreed to this condition, though she took a little time to consider it. The third and final condition was that I would be free to go on vacations with my sister and nephew without my wife coming along. I told her up front that my sister doesn't want her to join us on these trips anymore. My wife hesitated a bit on this one, but she eventually agreed. That's probably my final update. Thanks everyone for the advice. This will clearly resolve everything. I give her 1 month before she claims you lied about the results or it's a false negative. The thing is, the test is going to show they're genetically linked because he is the kid's uncle, and that alone might be enough for her to be convinced he is the father, even when the percentages don't line up. This isn't a mentally stable person he's dealing with. Therapy should have been one of his conditions. I had the same thought. They're biological siblings. The test will come back that he and his nephew are related, and I can imagine OP's wife twisting it to say she was right. Lol, dude, it's not gonna matter what the test says. Your wife has an irrational delusion in her head and will go through whatever mental gymnastics she needs to justify it. The test is not going to help. If anything, it's going to get worse, especially based on the conditions you set. I told my sister this, but if this doesn't work, I'm going to look into divorce. Next story. Am I the a-hole for taking my kids back home with me from my parents' house after they violated the one simple rule I gave them? In March 2022, my parents reached out to me because they wanted to meet my daughters, Angela and Julianne, both 9, IVF twins. I agreed on the condition that they would not introduce my kids to my aunt's family. Growing up with my aunt's family was a nightmare. They were incredibly abusive and neglectful when I lived with them. To give you an idea, back in 1997, my aunt took my brother's asthma inhaler and refused to give it back because he wouldn't share his cookies with her daughter. This was a woman in her mid to late 20s doing this to a 7-year-old. I had my lawyer draft a contract outlining my terms. It wasn't legally binding, just symbolic, but it clearly stated that I would fly with my daughters from Seattle to Albuquerque for spring and summer breaks, provided that my aunt's family wouldn't be introduced to them or come near the property under any circumstances. I reserved the right to never bring my kids back if the rule was violated. My mom signed it and I planned a trip. Before leaving, I explained to my daughters who these people were and why I didn't like them. I told them to let me know if they met them. I treat my kids like they can understand things, and I always try to explain situations to them honestly. We made a flight down and arrived at my parents' home. But 2 hours later, the doorbell rang. Guess who it was? My aunt's family, standing around and laughing as if we've always gotten along. I turned to my mom and asked, "Why did you invite them?" Mom, well, they're family. Me, they're your family. Angela and Julianne were going home. Since the girls hadn't unpacked yet, they grabbed their things and I collected my belongings to leave. My mom broke down, begging me not to go, saying things like, "Really? You actually meant it?" And "I can't believe you." Meanwhile, my aunt's family started making judgmental comments, calling me ungrateful and trying to guilt-trip me. If you've ever dealt with abusive people, you know they always resort to the same victim-blaming tactics. After that, I blocked my parents' and aunt's family on all platforms and instructed my kids to do the same. They've complied, but not before asking me for the latest new jeans merch, of course. 2 weeks ago, my brother came over and tried to reason with me. He spoke calmly, asking me to reconsider. I told him I gave them one rule, and they violated it within 2 hours of us being there. It's not just about the rule. It shows they don't respect me. They cared more about my aunt's family than they did about respecting my boundaries, which makes me question how much they really care about my kids if they were willing to break the agreement so quickly. It seems my mom has either forgiven or doesn't care enough about what we endured with those people to respect my boundaries. She seems to think I was bluffing, even though I made my rules clear. Your brother was the one she took the inhaler from, and he's going to bat for them? Jesus, he's in it deep too, huh? Not the a-hole. My brother is actually a very forgiving and loving person. He likes to see the good people and believes that people can change. I agree with him to an extent. Really, the only reason those people aren't messing with him is because he is older and has been overseas with the US military. Your brother is trauma bonded with your family. He is allowing himself to be used to manipulate you and he refuses to see it. He is not forgiving and loving. He is a doormat. I really hate to consider that possibility. I reserve the right to never bring kids back here if you violate this one rule. She signed it and I planned a trip. Really? You actually meant it? That is the weakest reaction ever. Who goes through the trouble of having someone sign an agreement just for the fun of it? Why did she think you went to all that effort? At least she showed her true colors so early in the visit. If she had waited until the end, it could have caused real confusion for your children. They would have had, hopefully, good memories with Grandma, and then struggled to understand why Grandma did something wrong at the end. Instead, she broke the rule almost as soon as you arrived. And your kids could see that you take rule breaking seriously. It's also a good thing that your aunt stayed true to her usual self, showing that she hasn't really changed, despite what your brother hoped. True change would have started with a sincere apology and a willingness to accept any terms given by the offended party. They just don't take me seriously. They think I'm still a kid in middle school who has childish complaints or something. Next story. Am I the a-hole for cutting off my parents after they pressured me to give up my autistic son for adoption? I, 32 female, am a single mom to my 7-year-old son who is on the autism spectrum. He is everything to me. I've been raising him mostly on my own since my divorce 3 years ago. My ex and I tried to make it work, but the stress of raising a special needs child took a toll, and he walked away. Now it's just me and my son. While it's not always easy, I wouldn't trade him for anything. But my parents don't see it the same way. Ever since my son's diagnosis, they've made comments implying that he is too much for me to handle. At first, it was more subtle, like you need a break or he must be exhausting. But recently, it's gotten worse. They've even suggested I should consider putting him up for adoption because they believe he is too much of a burden. The first time they said that, I was in shock and didn't know how to respond. I love my son with all my heart, and the idea that they see him as a problem that could be fixed through adoption made me sick. I tried to explain how hurtful their words were, but they wouldn't stop bringing it up. Every time we talked, they hinted that I was making things harder for myself by keeping him. They've said things like, "You're still young, you could have another chance at a normal life," as if my son isn't already my entire world. Things came to a head a couple of weeks ago when they actually sat me down and said they'd done research on homes for special needs kids, suggesting he could get better somewhere else. They've even said it would be better for everyone if I gave him up. I was absolutely furious. I told them they were cruel and heartless, and if they couldn't accept my son as part of our family, then they weren't part of our lives anymore. Since then, I've cut off all contact. My phone's been blowing up with messages from my parents and even other family members telling me I'm overreacting and that they were just trying to help. They're saying I'm being ungrateful and that I should think about how hard it is for them to see me struggling. Some relatives are even suggesting I should forgive them because they're my parents and only want what's best for me. But I can't get past what they said. My son isn't a burden, and he certainly isn't someone to give up just because life with him is more challenging. He's my child, my entire world. Now, I'm questioning myself. Am I being too harsh? Should I give them another chance because they're family? Or am I justified in cutting them off after what they said? Am I the a-hole? You are not the a-hole. Your parents' suggestion to give up your son is unacceptable. Your child's well-being is your priority and your right to defend him. Appreciate your support. I will always stand behind him. Always. As I stated in my first reply, I raised an ASD son and my daughter has 3 sons who are on various levels of the spectrum. I wouldn't trade any one of them for so-called normal boys. If your parents will not accept and love your son, you have no choice but to go no contact. Another Reddit case of time to cut off all these people and move somewhere else. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my brother's fiancé to grow up and stop trying to put her anger and trauma on me? My brother Matt, 30 male, is engaged to Evelyn, 32 female. Matt is our parents' biological son, and I'm 25 female, their adopted daughter. We also have another biological sister and 2 more adopted brothers. Our parents fostered many kids and adopted some of us. I've always known I was adopted, as I was removed from an unsafe environment and didn't have any safe biological relatives. My biological family is small in terms of known members, and none of them are good people. I'm very grateful to have been adopted. I feel lucky to have found a family that embraced the fact that we weren't biologically connected but loved us just the same, without any shame. Each of us who were adopted has our own story. One of my brothers, for example, was orphaned, and his birth parents wanted him to find a family who would love and care for him, which he found with us. Matt's fiancée, Evelyn, was adopted as an infant and has a lot of complicated feelings about it. I understand why she feels this way, especially since her adoptive parents tried to erase her biological background, shamed her for being curious about it, and spoke negatively about her birth family. I don't think that was fair or right. However, Evelyn tends to push her feelings onto other adoptees, assuming we all feel the same as she does. She has made negative comments about my parents, accusing them of robbing 3 children of their rights to their biological family history and identity. She even suggested that I was brainwashed by CPS into believing that I was removed for safety reasons and had no safe biological relatives. For the record, all my known birth relatives have been in and out of prison, and I have verified this. She told me that I'm just traumatized and too afraid to admit that I was denied my real family. I explained to her that I don't feel that way, but she insisted that all adopted kids feel the same, claiming that adoptees are treated as products in the US. I told Matt that I couldn't handle this anymore, and that I would need to see him and Evelyn less if they didn't stop. Despite this, she keeps seeking me out. On Saturday, while she was at my parents' home, she tried to bring it up again. I couldn't stand her talking about my parents that way in their own home, so I snapped. I told her to grow up and accept that people can have different experiences and perspectives, and that only children think everyone should feel the same. I also said that she needed to stop projecting her anger and trauma onto me, just because our experiences are different. Evelyn said I was being spiteful and throwing it in her face. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. What does your brother do while she sits in your parents' home and talks smack about them? Do your parents know? He doesn't say anything in front of us. Our parents know. I didn't know it, but they were aware before too. They feel bad that her experience left her feeling as she does. Your parents are so good. You are not the a-hole. She should really, really, really seek therapy. I agree. I think that's why she's so explosive about the topic. She needs to talk about it because her feelings are so complicated and make her miserable with her anger and grief. Not a-hole. In advocacy spaces, there's a few golden rules. Things like, don't talk about us without us, as in don't represent us without letting us talk too. And a big one is, experiences may vary and I cannot talk for you because I haven't walked in your shoes, as in what you've experienced I cannot imagine, because I haven't lived your life. Evelyn is failing on both of those, probably more. Has she got an adoption fetish? Is that why she's with your brother? How does he feel about all this nonsense? Not her, but the crap she's talking. And how will he reconcile this with having children with her? I think she has become so bitter about the flaws in the adoption system and the bad outcome she got that she can't accept there are people who have benefited from it too. I don't believe adoption is part of the reason she's with him because she found out about some of us being adopted months into their relationship.